Okay, we're going to say good morning.
Morning.
How's everything?
Great.
Steve Peck's having orange juice.
Well, theoretically it's
Sunny morning. Hopefully everybody had a good evening.
Well rested, in bed by 10 o'clock.
Yeah, foot massages and all that. Everything's done. Ready to roll. I'm with Claude Harmon this morning. Across the fairway here is Butch's, his father's golf school, and I've spent a lot of time here trying to get my game improved. Worked with Claude for many years now, knowing Claude for over 20 years. So, there's certain things that we like to see in my swing. Just like you guys, I got some faults that I've got to, look at. Starting with the grip, very basic stuff. I've always been a guy that my left hand tends to go a little bit strong on my left hand. So I start doing some funny things in my swing. So I have to really concentrate on keeping my left hand on the club very neutral. So, seeing the 1.5 knuckles almost, not 2. When it gets a little strong, I start tending to hit that little hook. It's like Trevino said, you can't talk to a hook. A fade might listen, but you can't. A hook won't listen. So we all got faults in our swings, and we got things that they don't obviously go according to plan. So just like you guys, I got to work on those things. So I think we can talk about that this morning.
It's always the same. You would think that with probably one of the best players that I've ever seen, in what Ernie would do is very technical, but most of the stuff that we do is very similar to what you all struggle with. A lot of Ernie's faults tend to be when his basic fundamentals get bad, his alignment, his posture. He always likes to practice with a rod down. That gives him a good gauge on where he's aimed. That's a great thing, I think, for any of us that are practicing. Go ahead and stick a club down. That'll give you a really good idea of where you're aiming, because I certainly think one of the things that we see in a lot of the pro-ams, people get aimed improperly, and a lot of times we see people hit good golf shots that go right where they're aimed. It's just not aimed in the right place. So it's always easier for Ernie to see where his alignment is. Like a lot of good players, most good tour players struggle when they get aimed too far to the right, and this always helps Ernie get actually just a fraction on the open side, which has him normally right where we want him to be.
Yeah, when I look up, like I'm going to go to that red flag now, I want to aim the ball line where, actually when I look up, I want to look at the flag. My weakness is when I go too far to the right, and I've got to look to my left to look at the flag. That means I've got to come over the golf ball, and normally when you aim too far right, you're going to miss it left. And I see that so much playing in pro-ams is, like you say, people not aiming in the correct manner. What I like to do on the golf course, just to aim, if you look at that little divot in front of me, get a kind of aiming spot where the ball's going to go through. It's almost like you're hitting through that spot, and that kind of helps you with your follow through. Instead of trying to hit at the flag or thinking about the target too much, think about something on the ground here where you can just swing through, and it helps the ball kind of on its way. So as I say, I want to look at the flag, not looking over my left shoulder, but down the target line.
I think it's always helpful to think about where you want the golf ball to start, as opposed to concentrating on so much on where you want it to finish.
Yeah, I'm a natural drawer of the ball, so my eye always sees a little bit of a draw. But as I say, I don't want to overdo it too much. Another thing I see with you guys sometimes, and even with us, is trying to work against yourself. I normally, unlike this morning, you know, I have a routine where, you know, I warm up, you know, in the gym. I got Vern, Aussie Vern, you know, to get me going. I got a little workout routine and so forth. You know, you guys have 95 jobs, real jobs, unlike us. So I hit a lot of golf balls. So my eye is very trained into what I'm seeing. You guys, you know, you come out of the office, get on a range, you want to have a good time. But if you don't have your fundamentals right, you're not going to have a good day on the golf course. You know, you're going to get onto the Bloody Mary too early. You know, so if you're hitting a fade, play with a fade, believe me. My good friend Ira is back here. You know, he's a very athletic individual. Ira, just put up your hand, please. There's Ira. Whenever you come to South Florida and you want to play the Bears Club, this is the man to call. And as you can see, he's a very athletic individual. And he has to swing in a certain way because of his stature. But he does take my money from time to time. Okay? What I'm trying to say is, you know, he hits a little fade out there. He's not trying to hit a draw like he sees Jordan Spieth do on television. Playing your game and perfecting that kind of play. I mean, we can talk about Lee Trevino.
Yep.
Lee Trevino, everybody thought, you know, with the outside in. You can look at Jim Furyk. You look at Paul Azinger, you know, the style of play that he had. But in all those different kind of swings and different postures of build, the guys are always through the ball, very square and secure through the hitting area. You know, my dad always talked to me about the 7 inches behind the ball and the 7 inches through the ball. If you can keep that square through, you know, and you're aiming in a correct manner, you're going to hit a pretty good golf shot.
I think if you watch Ernie hit, you know, these shots, I think the big difference between the best players in the world and the rest of us, or how Ernie uses his body and how he uses his legs. And if you watch how strong and solid his legs look, that's probably the thing that I think the average golfer never thinks about in how their feet are working and what their legs are doing. And you can see that Ernie generates a tremendous amount of his power from the ground up. He's going to turn his upper body around his lower body. But notice how quiet his footwork is. I think that's one of the best things about Ernie's golf swing is just how quiet his feet are. And we see so many players trying to hit the golf ball and their feet are moving around. So you think about the ground that you're standing on, you should always try and use the ground and gain some power by using your legs.
And I feel that when you do that, your hips are really going to be firing. If you look at Rory McIlroy, you know, #1 player in the world today, he's only 5'10". The guy weighs 165. I mean, I'm about, I suck it in about 225 this morning. But he's so athletic, and if you look at Tiger back in the day, they had a couple of things in common. You know, they would load it up, as Claude says, and that, I feel that your left shoulder, you know, must get behind the ball on the backswing. When you've done that, I feel you've loaded up your backswing. There's a lot of power there. And from there, you want to just feel the club drop. And from this position here, like Claude says, your legs are doing it, but you don't really feel it in your legs. Feel your belt really move fast. If you can get your belt moving fast, that means your hip is firing. And there's a lot of power in your hips. If you look, I've never played baseball in my life. You know, I played cricket. But if you look at baseball players, they have quick hands and obviously that quick snap. And it's the same in a golf swing. There's kind of a snap. And that's one of the things that, if you go across the road here to where Butcher's school is, there's video and there's pictures of Tiger back in '97 when he was a very thin lad. And you will see positions of his swing that is just incredible. You know, and that's why I can't believe, you know what he's done with his swing through the years. I mean, he's an unbelievable player, but his swing was so in tune with his body. He could turn, unbelievably flexible, and on the downswing, he had so much snap in his hips and in his legs. And I believe that's the secret in hitting the ball very far. There's a timing thing, and you snap through it. I mean, if you look at the longest hitters in the world, they don't look like linebackers. They're small guys, but they can move their body quickly.
Yeah. And I think if you watch Ernie on this swing, you'll see that his.
I feel like I'm aiming right there.
So, a little bit more that way.
You know what happens when you play roulette or 230? In any case, is that better?
Yeah, that's fine.
Thank you.
So you'll see that the upper body, as Ernie was talking about, he's going to turn his left shoulder behind the golf ball. He's going to let his arms fall, and then the lower body is going to start to pull him down. You always notice that when he finishes, his shoulder, this lead shoulder is back, and the right shoulder's all the way through. And you'll also notice that after Ernie hits this golf ball, you'll be able to see all of the bottom of his right foot, and you'll notice where the balance is up on his front leg. So you see he's turned all the way forward with this shoulder. You see all of the spikes here on his shoe. That's a great thing to try and think of. And if you can hold your follow-through position the way Ernie's holding it here, even when you're hitting golf balls in the driving range, a great drill that I like to have people do is try and hold your follow-through until the golf ball lands on the ground. You'll get a good gauge and sense of where your balance is. So he could stay in that position until the golf ball lands, because that's where his weight has traveled.
Sure, it feels good this morning. Yeah. Yeah.
You should go out more often.
Yeah.
Ernie, your right foot's on the ground at impact,
Yeah.
right? I see that.
Yeah, I think most of our amateurs, in an effort to try and get power, they lift up off of their feet. So that right foot being on the ground, it enables Ernie to really stabilize and use his legs. We see so many people pop up with this right foot, the heel comes up. So at impact, both of the feet are on the ground and his weight is moving forward onto his left foot. But yeah, very, very quiet feet.
But if you look at, look at my belly and look at the belt, we're swinging. I want to feel like my lower body is kind of more quiet, until I get into the hitting area, and then I want to feel there's a bit of almost a bounce into the ball, energy into the ball. Okay? So don't try and get the power and moving your body off the ball. Try and keep it as still as you can, and then into the ball, really create the speed. So get your belt moving towards the target. It's not like you're trying to hit it with your legs or anything, but you got to create that speed, from the core, from right there. So it's almost delaying, and then let it rip.
So on the downswing, the first thing that starts to unwind for Ernie and all good players is his lower body is going to unwind first, and then his arms and his hands and his golf club are just going to kind of fall and drop. We see so many people really try and hit the golf ball from the top of the backswing with their arms, and they don't use all the power they could use.
Questions? Come on.
When you feel that drop, Ernie, at the top of your swing, is it your hands dropping,
Yeah.
or you pulling with your left arm, or
Yeah, I want to feel.
what's the feeling?
I want to keep everything in line. So, my feet line, meaning my body line and my ball line, I don't want to break those lines. I don't want to drop it too far inside, like, let's say, Jim Furyk or Sergio. I want to try and feel, I'm a one plane. Have you heard of the one plane swing? So I think I'm the model for that.
Sure, yeah.
I take it back on plane, and I want to bring it down on plane and finish on plane.
Did you say it's just kind of a drop, but you always want to finish your backswing? We get too
Yep,
ready to
Exactly.
hit it.
So
Yeah.
the club weighs, it's got quite a few grams in the club. So I always want to feel like my club is heavy.
Okay.
Even my clubs weigh at D6. So if you pick up my irons, they will feel quite heavy to you, and I like that. And I think that also helps me in my rhythm. When I have a I feel like there's a heavy hit on the ball instead of a quick hit. And I've always been like it since I was age of Joshua. I mean, since I was 13. I've always kind of had that, that rhythm.
That
So
transition, that's the most
the
important
transition,
thing.
exactly.
That slot, yeah.
You want to build up that energy, but you don't want to, force it into the ball. You want to kind of have that easy speed through the ball. Some of you might get what I'm saying, but what I'm trying to say is don't rush the hit.
Just keep building that power.
If you look at baseball, or if you look at hockey, there's certain guys that do it a certain way where it's almost slow motion. If you look at soccer, a guy striking a soccer ball, he's waiting till the last minute to get his momentum through the ball. That's what I'm trying to. Roger Federer on that beautiful backhand. There's that whoop right by the ball. He's not rushing anything. Whoa. So yeah, I get that a lot. What do you think on a transition? Because I can see what you guys are thinking. Go ball. And the more you try and go ball, the worse it gets. You have to make your backswing. It's like I played with Johan Rupert last week, my partner at the Daniel. And he had a big evening, much bigger than we had last night. And he's walking to the tee, he's smoking on his Rembrandt, and played the first hole, the 10th hole. I'm playing with Rory and his father, and he hit a beautiful drive. I don't know how it came out, but he was, he's shaking like a leaf. Bordeaux all out of the cognac and all the shit coming out of him. And his second shot, he hit it from here to Claude with a 5-iron. And he's smoking and going. Next one, he hits it, another yard. So he picks up, me and Rory finish. I walk off the green. I say, Johan, the first rule in playing with a hangover, make a backswing. Okay? After that, he was fine. I shot 74 and he shot about 66. In any case, I'm going to try and hit it into Butch's hanger there. Driver, ball position for me on the driver is vital. If my ball position aren't inside my left leg, I'm not getting the power on the backswing. I see a lot of guys have the ball position out there. On a right-handed player, I like to see the ball position inside on your chest. Left, what do you call it? Breast, whatever you call it. And get that bloody left shoulder behind the ball. That's a backswing. When you get there, you never finish a backswing, you're chasing the ball. It's almost golf, you got to work in reverse. Ball's too far up, you think you got plenty of time, you don't, because you're chasing the ball. When it's so far back, guess what you got to do? You can't chase it down. You've got to get behind the ball to make a backswing. A la Johan Rupert. How are you going to hit it if you don't make a backswing? You got to wind it up. My whole thought throughout my life was finish your backswing. You get your backswing, turn your back at the target, you got a chance of hitting the ball. And I think Jack Nicklaus was very similar. And Tiger.
I think the interesting thing also is if you notice the difference between Ernie was hitting a 7-iron earlier versus the driver, there doesn't look like there's any real difference in the speed of the golf swing. The only thing that's changed is the golf club is obviously longer, so the backswing is going to be longer due to the length of the golf club. But the difference between a 7-iron and a driver is really no different.
Whoa. That's the ball. There's a little cut in that ball. Not a good flight. It's never the golfer.
All my balls are good.
Hey? Like Ricky, my caddy. Yeah, no, mate, we shot 66 today.
You shot
And
75.
then the next day, Yeah, I tell you, I don't know what to do with this guy. He missed a putt here. His head wasn't in the game. He shot 75 today. But we shot 65. Right by my side. Shoot 75. He's an asshole. Any case. So is life, so is golf, eh? All right, let's hit it into that frickin'. There you go.
Ernie, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
It seems to me that, at least on television, they talk about the guys on tour that really are drawers of the ball versus the guys on tour that have sort of power fades and so forth.
Yeah.
I've been playing the golf a long time, and I seem to be able to do both sometimes.
Yeah.
Is there a reason why that the pro really wants to stick to one thing as opposed to the other?
Good question. And, you know, the further you get under pressure, you know, the more your faults are going to come out into the open, you know. And again, it's like also almost like life. You fall back onto something that you know. And in the back of your mind, with me in any case, you know, back in 1994, before a lot of you were, mind you, looking in this crowd.
Where are you going with that?
Yeah, exactly. I snap hooked that tee shot at Oakmont, and I had a one-shot lead and so on. You know, I had to go back the next day and you know, in the playoff. But I always, you know, I had to fight the hooks, so to speak. And it's amazing. You know, Jack Nicklaus always said he takes out one side of the golf course. He only played a fade. So that meant that he never really went fully at the golf ball. Always put it in play. Nowadays, you can ask Claude, I mean, you know, between, you know, Dustin Johnson, you know, when he's playing, he's hammering it. Bubba Watson, although he's lefty, you know, he fades the ball. So that means he doesn't want to draw it either, very much like me. So under pressure, I'm going to go back and hit it, basically a soft cut in the fairway, because I'm fighting a draw. So it's what you're comfortable with and what you can put in play at the end of the day. If you're really comfortable, you know, nowadays, you know, with TaylorMade and Adams, I've got a driver that's got a built-in draw. So that makes it almost easier for me under pressure, because I know it's going to go a little left. So it's easier for me to hang on to it this fashion and hit that little block fade to get it in play. You know, without too much pressure, I might, you know, go with a draw, but I'm always a little bit scared of that quick left shot. So what I'm trying to say is play with your strengths again, and just look out for those, you know, those bad habits.
I have a question.
Yeah.
What's your go-to drill? Like if you've had a layoff,
Yeah.
what's your go-to drill? What do you typically like to do around?
Well, I like to just hit it out, hit a lot of balls, and then go through all the motions. I just had 3 weeks off. I went to Scotland last week. Never really had a lot of time to hit, and by the third round I started getting my bearings, so to speak. But you know, with Claude, we'll have a day and just hit and go through the whole thing, put it on video, look at what we're doing, but really go with the basics. Really get your alignment straightened out. Without good alignment, you're not going to hit really good shots. And keep it consistent. If you're coming over the ball a little bit, you know, that's your swing, you know, and keep that consistent. Don't try and change that too much. But what I like to do is, even before a tournament starts, I like to at least have a 2-3 hour session of just hitting, really getting my mind under the pressure of playing under pressure, you know, in a tournament round. I think going through the basics is so important. You know, the setup, so important. If I'm setting up, if I'm tired, jet lagged, or you know, whatever, hungover, whatever, you know, if you're there, you know, I'm not going to take the the club back properly. So I've got to be in a ready position. You know, we played cricket back in South Africa. I always think of standing in the slips, you know, in a catching position. If you're going to catch a ball, you're not going to stand, you know, like that. You're going to be standing ready. Where's the ball coming? And that's the same with hitting a golf shot. Get into the ready position. Ready position is, hey, I'm ready to go. You're not going to be ready like this. You know what I mean? Get in the ready position where you can take the club back and put a strike on the ball.
And a follow-up to that is, what is your go-to swing thought for like the first tee, or you know, first tee? What's your go-to swing?
Well, it depends on where you are. Hey, listen, my swing thought is always putting club on ball. Okay, it's quite important. Trying to hit it as close as possible to the middle. Now, really, what I'll do before a big match, or you know, more any round is big for us. I might play the first 4 holes on the range. Just hit a shot. You know, if I'm uncomfortable with certain tee shots, like a right to lefter, like at Augusta, the second hole. You know, I'm so scared of hitting it down the left side. So I'll stand there and really let it go, hitting it on the bunker, try and draw it a little bit. Then I'll play the first hole at Augusta, bunker on the right, try and hit a little cut. So the first 2 holes at Augusta, that's what makes it such a great golf course. Right out of the gate, you got to hit a cut, and then the next hole you got to hit a fade. I mean, sorry, you got to hit a cut and then a draw. So you got to be on your game. So I'll play a shot or so on the range.
So go ahead,
And
hit a fade like you would. So
Okay.
the first hole at Augusta, you'd be trying to hit a fade.
So if I'm hitting a fade, I'm teeing it a little bit lower. It just seems, it feels like, you know, with the club being this big nowadays, if I tee the ball lower, I've got to get the club onto the ball, so I've got to squeeze it. So I get a lower ball flight, little fade. And that's actually, for me, that's not a bad tee shot to hit on the first hole. I'll aim a bit left, you know, I'll fade it back to that garage, left garage door. So I'm going left, and I'm going to swing down my feet line. I'm not going to try and hit it out there. I'm going to hit down my feet line and trust that the ball's going to go left to right. Right there.
That's going in the garage.
So hit the draw now. So you'll tee it a little bit higher?
Tee it a bit higher. I can feel my hands are working a bit more. Forehand, whoever plays tennis, get that forehand over a little bit. But don't overdo it. Again, down your feet line. And I'm going to hit up on the ball and this way. So my right forearm is going to just take over a bit more. Come on now. See, that's a built-in draw, I thought.
That's ridiculous.
So I'll do that swing when I'm really confident. You know, the fade one is one I can hit easier. The draw one, you know, you got to be confident. Sometimes my body stays back, and I flip too much, and I get that little quick draw. So you got to let your right hip. Let me hit it again. So you feel like you're aiming right, your right hip and your right shoulder and right forearm. We're going to get through the ball and get to your left side. Right there. That's the kind of shot I'll hit at the senior tour one day. Get a bit of run, you know what I mean?
I think it's also worth mentioning that, you know, as great as the tour players are, you would think that every day they show up and they hit it perfect and they can do whatever they want. And like Ernie said, some days it's easy for him to draw the golf ball, some days it's not easy for him to draw it. So he tends to have days, you know, just like we all do, to where it's, you know, you hit bad shots. But he has go-to shots that he knows that he can hit. And so he won't, if he's struggling on the driving range to draw it, you know, he might not even try and draw it unless he has to that day. We see so many players who can't draw the golf ball spend an entire 18-hole round of golf aiming to the right, trying to draw it when their natural shape is a little bit of a fade. So it's very important to find your own shape and then stick with that.
Another thing is your body. You know, I'm 45 next week. I got a right hip. It's not so good. You know, my back, you know, I'm not turning as far back as I used to. Take that into consideration. I mean, this guy teaches Ricky Fowler and Dustin Johnson. These guys are 20 whatever, loose and flowing. You know, you got to take your body. You know, when I get old, as we get older, you got to try and turn. If you can't turn, you're not going to be able to put speed on the ball. So keep yourself in some kind of half a decent shape where you can, you know, turn your chest and really turn your back to the target. If you can't do that, you know, you're really not going to be able to hit the ball far. So I learned late.
What's your difference in driving distance from 35 to now you're 45?
You know what? I'm this year. Now I don't know if it's the ball, the driver, or what, but I'm 3 yards longer than I was last year. I was averaging at 288 last year. I'm averaging at 291 this year.
And 10
So,
years ago, you were what, 275?
well, 20 years ago, I was top 20 on the driving distance thing. Davis Love back then was the longest driver with the wooden heads. And I think he was 290. I was averaging at 278. I was top 20. Nowadays, we hit 3 woods 278. So the technology with swing speed has really kept us, you know, relevant.
But
I mean,
your
I
head
play with.
speed now is the same as your head speed was?
Yes, to answer your question, yeah, I think I'm about 113 miles per hour on my swing, and I would say I was maybe 2, 3, maybe 4 miles an hour quicker back in the day, but I think the average swing speed on tour is 112. The quick guys, Dustin, these guys are swinging at 120. Rory can maybe go even quicker than that, 125. But yeah, with this technology, you know, things have changed a lot. You know, I'm 291 now. 22 years ago, I'm 278, top 20. Now I'm 84th at 291 driving stats. So.
And the holes are 50 yards longer now.
Yeah, that's true. But, you know,
Ernie, what do you need to do if you really need like step on one? Today
okay,
we all want to hit a really long drive.
let's do it right here.
What do we need to do?
We're going to go a little wider in the stance, and we're just going to think kill. Okay? Here we go.
Oh boy.
There we go. That was my kill swing.
I think we're going to get everyone to get a picture.
Yeah, everybody, if I could get a round of applause to Ernie and Claude here for coming out this morning.